I think it takes a lot of knowing yourself. And that's really hard when you're starting. But that's why I tell people, like, when you're starting, try everything. Like, try the big agency, try the middle agency, try the small one, try branding, try motion, try all these things so that you can really know what it is that you like and what you don't like, because that starts to shape you as a creative, as a person, all those things. And the more you know yourself, I think the more you can stand out in your authentic way and stand in your authenticity and take those battle hits of people, bashing your work online or supporting you or whatever. I'm a big believer that if nobody hates you, nobody loves you.
My guest today on The Flame is Naoma Serna-Zahn, a brand strategist, designer, and business owner who's been running her own agency for the past 4 years. While many episodes of The Flame focus on job searching, Naoma brings a different and equally important perspective: what it looks like to navigate creativity, confidence, and opportunity from the business side. She's bold, honest, and deeply passionate about helping brands and people uncover what actually makes them stand out. Let's get started. Hey, Naoma, how are you?
Hi, good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and making sure that you were able to be here after a very late night.
Just, when the flow hits, you got to go with it.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah,
it's,
I was up till 12:45 last night, mostly working and mostly playing a game because I feel like I deserve that after I've worked until midnight, I guess, in some stupid way.
well, I was up until 3 and I was working till 2:30, and then I just scrolled Instagram Reels for 30 minutes and I was like, "I need to go to bed."
You got me beat. I mean, at least I forced myself to not go on Instagram because
It's
it
very smart.
I enjoy Instagram, and now, the algorithm is feeding me things I don't need to be seeing at 12:45 at night.
Yeah, my algorithm at 2:30 in the morning is like, "This is how you achieve your goals, and this is what you need to be doing." And I'm like, "Oh, I need to be going to sleep. Can I get on the ASMR Reels?"
It's terrifying. You're just like, "Oh, wait, I'm not a celebrity creative, I'm not doing well in my life because the algorithm tells me so."
Oh, comparison is the thief of joy.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
For listeners, Naoma and I came together through the 100 Club run by
Mhm.
Rod Chant, and I love that that program has brought us together, and other creatives together from around the globe, really, right?
Yeah.
And is just allowing us to make connections and collaborate. I think aside from trying to educate creatives and creative leaders, that like this was always what Rod intended, right? To bring people together through
Yeah.
creativity, no matter what part of creativity you're from.
Yeah, and I think also just a moment to, like, not feel so alone in your pursuit of career/creativity. So, for me, it was more about, like, who can I go hang out with that are similar to me so I don't feel so alone, and I can't really do that in my local town all that much because they're all my competitors, so
Right.
so online, we're more friends,
Yeah, you
which
gotta
is
branch
really
out.
interesting.
Yeah. But it's crazy what community can do for you, especially, I enjoy working from home. I enjoy being kind of in control of my calendar and certainly don't miss commuting, but I miss being around people. And like, when you're by yourself for a long time in your house, it's like you feel like you're in solitary confinement, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, COVID was really hard for me because of that. So I do commute, but that's by choice, just because I know my brain works better if I like leave my home to go work somewhere and then I can leave
Right.
work. Well, sometimes I bring it home and I work till 3 a.m. But yeah, I think just that flexibility is really needed, but you also really need the community.
Right. Right. So, Nam, I'd love to have you introduce yourself formally and give listeners kind of some insight into, who you are as a person, as a creative leader, and as a business owner.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't prep for that part. I
That's
prepped for
okay.
the questions, but so we'll just go off the cuff. Hi, I'm Naoma Serna-Zahn. I own a boutique branding firm called Nuevo. We've been in business for almost 8 years now, which is crazy to think about. I'm originally from Mexico, and then I moved to the US about 20 years ago, and I've kind of bopped around the world and I'm a big traveler. So that's kind of why I started my thing, was for wanting to travel and to have freedom, kind of like what we were talking about. We're a small team, we're 4 people, and we output a lot of work for how small our firm is. But I can say that I love every single one of my clients, which I know a lot of people can't always say. So I feel very blessed in that way.
That's good when you love what you do and you also love who you do it for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to get there.
Yeah. But you, and so you're based in Oklahoma City, right?
Based in Oklahoma City, we try to leave here about leave the country about once a year, just to, fuel creativity, not be so, you kind of get boxed in your own community and your own routine, and then you're like, wait a minute, why am I looking at the same stuff? Why am I doing the same things? So for me, it's a big thing to leave, and so this summer I'm actually going back home to Mexico for 2 months to just unplug a little bit and work down from there, and
Mhm.
reconnect with roots and friends and show my son around. So,
Nice.
yeah.
So, as when we talked before, you mentioned you've been running Nuevo for several years now, 4 or 5 years now, which is awesome because I aspire as, a fledgling agency owner with who's got maybe a year in. It's kind of, aspiring to me to hear your story. So, but what originally pushed you to building your own thing instead of staying in that like traditional creative role?
Yeah. So for me, it was definitely freedom. I was one of the very few that got a job right out of design school, and it was a great gig. I mean, I learned so much, but the 2 weeks paid vacation, and this was pre COVID too. So, like, the 2 weeks paid vacation, not being able to like do hybrid work, was kind of a downer for me. So I really wanted to be able to travel, and just, was happy to take my laptop anywhere, but it was kind of not seen like it is today, right? I just had the power of the internet, and I was naive enough and had enough margaritas that I was like, let's do it. And so Nuevo was actually born on a patio over a weekend. Over margaritas, and designed the logo, kind of thought of the brand. And Monday morning, I was at the Secretary of State filing my LLC and just going there. I will say another factor that really led to that wasn't just like, oh, she wants to travel and wants to like not have a schedule, but I live in a small town in a big city. So everybody knows everybody. It's definitely a good old boys club. And I would just see the way that women in business would be treated versus the guys in business, just from an agency standpoint. And they were not taken as seriously. It was just kind of like, we'll just kind of make something that kind of like looks good and is a little frilly. And
Right.
I was like, this is like a real business. This is not a like a calligraphy side hustle. So that really started to like kind of annoy me and like grate at me. So that was another reason, is I just wanted there to be a place that women who were serious about business could find an agency that would take them seriously, and give them good work, not just here's a calligraphy logo or here's a gradient and we put
Right.
a flower on it. And I was like, oh,
Right. Well, and that's funny because you see being in that area of the country, I'm sure it's hard as a business owner, being a woman as a business owner, but then also, do you feel like women are advertised too differently out there? Or is it
yeah.
not bleeding?
Uh, sorry. I don't follow a lot of ton of local advertisement, but I can definitely tell that, and I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, like, for women in business, it's either, "Hey, that's so cute, you have a side business. So great for you. How cute of you." And it's like, "I run like $1 million rate business.
Right.
That's not, cute." Or it's, and they become very glam and intense, and or then they swing the other way, and it's like, I'm building this side gig off my kitchen table while I'm raising children, which is totally fine. That's how a lot of my friends have been doing it, but they're also not taken as seriously as somebody who's not a woman. And so I feel like those two camps are really hard for women that are like me. I'm a mom, but I'm still ambitious. I still am trying to go and do big things, and there hasn't really been a spot for me. So I've been slowly carving that out, within my own community.
I was going to ask that. Have you seen a change in your community now that you've, feel like you're established and you're successful and, having that influence in the community? You feel like you've seen a change in that over time?
Yes, but I mean, I will say it's not just me. There's other women that I've been meeting and connecting with, and they're also building things that are to
Hmm.
support women and to help them feel legitimate. Because I will say, I think for women, we kind of deal a little bit harder with the imposter syndrome
Hmm.
because it's really hard for us to be like ambitious and go-getters and not be called names, right?
Right.
So I think we kind of struggle with like, are we good? Is it good to be ambitious? Is it good to want money? Is it good to want to be successful on top of like trying to do it?
Right. It's almost like we need to tap into that dumb fearlessness that we have when you're going to the the office to uh, launch your LLC or come up with that idea over margaritas. It's almost like we do that and then we're like yes, and then we completely forget that, and then a year and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I would say being naive can kind of get you further in business in the beginning, just because you don't know how hard it's going to be, and so it's kind of better if you don't know.
Right.
So
And I think that better to not know is kind of the thing that people don't understand about job hunting, right? Like as a business owner, like you see so much more of what goes on behind the scenes, especially as
yeah.
a small business owner. And if you've only got a handful of people, I can't even imagine if you're trying to like run a huge corporate agency, how you could handle that. But like we see a lot of people on LinkedIn and other places saying kind of the same things about like working with recruiters and interview process and the job market. But as an agency owner, given the climate, like what is it that you think designers are misunderstanding about the hiring decisions that actually get made?
I think there's like multiple levels to that, right? So like if you're a little bit further along, like you're mid senior director level, I think that's a little bit harder for you because you've been through the gamut, right? You know what to do. You know you need to work on a team, whatever. We were kind of talking about this the other day. You've also been so siloed if you've had a job for so long that you haven't been networking and you haven't been talking to other people. You kind of just have been in, let me go to work, let me do my job, get along with my coworkers, go back home, go to my family, and like that's the end of my community kind of
Mhm.
and in my industry. For what I would tell people is the most important thing is like your network. And I hate to say that because everybody hates to hear it, but it's so true. The more people you know, the more you put yourself out there, the easier it is for people that are connectors like me to
Right.
be like, "Oh, that person is looking for that job, and I just heard about that. I'm just gonna, like, send a little email and connect those 2 people." There are a lot of people that are connectors in the world that people don't realize are connectors.
Right.
So, like, a great example of this is I went to a gala thing or a fundraising for Goodwill last year, and I met this lady, and I was like, "Hey, I'm Naoma. Great to meet you. Like, what's your name? What's your story?" And she was, like, so, candid with me. She's like, "My name is this, and I'm actually kind of between jobs. I'm looking for a job." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, like, what are you looking for?" And she's like, "Well, I'm really looking for something in this realm and in this realm and in this realm." And I was like, "Okay, great." So I just kind of like filed that away
Hmm.
and, continued the night. And then 2 days later, one of my clients was like, "Hey, I'm kind of looking for this really behind the scenes." And I was like, "I literally just met a woman 2 nights ago that like matches that perfectly. I'll connect you to." And she got the job. She's been there two
Oh, that's
years.
awesome.
So, like, I think there's this fear and shame around saying, like, what you want and talking about yourself in a way that especially people who are further along are not gonna look down on you.
Right.
They're gonna wanna support you. They wanna see other people succeed, and I think we get in our head of, like, "Oh, we shouldn't say that. We shouldn't, put ourselves out there. We should be really kind of more behind the scenes about it. We don't wanna look desperate or we don't wanna look whatever." And the thing is, like, people who are successful and who are rooting for you are never thinking that you're coming off desperate.
Right. In my last interview with my friend Bert, he was telling me how he was in a long line of people at a job fair, and he just kind of, he started having a conversation with a recruiter who was pegged him as like, oh, you're just another one of these Drexel guys. We've seen everybody. And he kind of showed a little bit of attitude, a little bit of his personality. and ended up standing out and getting the job. Like he wasn't in that moment, he kind of reacted naturally. And I think
Yes.
people can tell, can see through the people that are trying to fake it.
Yeah, and I will say, if especially if you're looking at working for one of these, like, micro agencies like mine,
Mhm.
I mean, I have never put up a job listing. I have hired people just from, "Hey, I'm kinda looking for this. Hey,
Right.
friend in the business world. Hey, people, I'm kinda looking for this. What are you thinking?" Or I follow somebody on LinkedIn and I'm like, "Their stuff is cool." I'm gonna kinda follow them for a little bit, and then when something opens up, I'm just gonna reach out directly. And so a lot of people don't realize that for micro agencies, for these small shops, almost the job listing almost never goes live. It is all who you know and your network. And
Right.
so if you're not putting yourself out there and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a job in this kind of realm," or "I'm kind of looking to pivot to this sort of job," I mean, it'll be hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I recently just joined a creative community. Like I'm really looking, aside from the 100 Club, I'm keen to try to wean myself off of LinkedIn if I can. I know it's a new, marketing platform these days, but just to try and find and connect with people like yourself that are kind of over here, like, we're kind of this little exclusive, not exclusive, but our own little territory. And it's been great. I've already met a few people, and the same thing, like when you said, like, who are the connectors? Like the group has people from all over, whether it's the automotive industry or the music industry. Like you never know who you're going to connect with or who's going to say, "Oh, I know this person. You need to talk to this person." Right.
Yeah, and so, like, that woman that I was talking about, like, it was not even in my industry. She was like, "This is kind of this is my experience, and this is what I'm really looking for. This is what I'm really
Yeah.
great at." And my client was like, "We're kinda looking for somebody to manage our events." And I was like, "Oh, I literally just met somebody that can do that for you."
Right.
And that I mean, I was very candid. I mean, I was like, "I don't really know her, and I don't know her work ethic, but I think she could be a good fit," especially in these small businesses. Like, so many people kind of forget the economic power of small businesses.
Right.
Everybody's kinda looking to these huge companies, these Fortune 100s, Fortune 500s, but not realizing that, like, I think the stat is, like, 60% of the US economy is run by small business, and you kind of just I remember when I was looking for jobs, I kinda put those aside. I was always going after the big thing, not realizing that I could get further along on the working at a smaller area. I will say another thing that I've noticed though is with the younger people, like the more fresh junior level, is common courtesy of sending a thank you email, sending a thank you note. That has kind of gone extinct a little bit, and it's
Really.
almost like they feel entitled to your time, and that is a huge turnoff for me. So
When I was in college, like we literally had portfolio course, like they taught you how to interview, they taught you the etiquette, they taught you how to present. And I don't know if like schools just aren't doing that or if the market right now has made people like so jaded about it that they just don't care. Like there's like, all right, you want me, here I am. Like I don't, like
yeah.
one feeding the other, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I do know that as soon as I meet a creative and they're like, "This is my portfolio," and I'm like the best of the best of the
Mhm.
best, I'm already like, I don't even if your portfolio is killer, I'm never gonna hire you
Right.
because I have to sit next to you 40 hours a week, not your
Yeah.
portfolio. If you're an asshole, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna hire you.
And you are, you're in the world of branding
Yep.
and you've talked about like brands and companies sounding like they were designed by committee, but like, are you seeing that? Do you feel like that shows up in portfolios? Like, are people, speaking of like standing out, right? Like, are people afraid to stand out through their portfolios anymore because they're afraid they're not going to get chosen?
Okay, so I wrote some great takes on this one because I have a lot of thoughts on it. Design by committee. Design by committee happens because the designer does not know how to navigate the language, does not know how to guide the client into saying, "This is where we should be going. This is what's best for you." So, like that level of direct feedback and being able to navigate those conversations with clients, I feel like is a very lost skill lately from what I'm encountering. Could not be, but that's what I'm encountering. So I think what happens is instead of like fighting the client, we're just like, yeah, we'll just do that just to appease the client, keep the client happy. You don't have to get on nasty phone calls, etc. But that's kind of when we get into this, like, we're a commodity, not an expert. And so people start to see us as a pixel pusher. And this is where I think AI can have the advantage over our industry, is if we're not hired for thinking, we're hired for production. So what I think happens is, to appease the client, we just kind of do that same kind of look and feel, because that's
Mhm.
what they wanted. They wanted that same look and feel. So we do that, and our portfolio starts to look like a sea of gradients and extremely boring. But I think that some of it comes from the designer being a little scared to push the client, or push themselves, and to make work that has a little bit more meaning and a little bit more depth, because our own industry tears us apart. Like, all the videos of, like, let's fix this, this is how I would make this better, this is what I would do. Though those are engaging, they're slowly deteriorating our own industry, and we're like ripping ourselves up from the inside out. We're already an industry that kind of has to, like, prove themselves to, like, the finance people and the budget cuts and all of that. So why would we as an industry give them more ammunition to, like, prove that we are not experts?
Right.
So my thought with that is, when we are tearing our industry up, we're giving permission to other sectors to do that to ourselves and to devalue our work. And it's really hard for me to say, this is how I would do this is how I would fix it, because you didn't talk to the client.
Right.
You didn't talk to the committee. You were not in the meeting. You did not have to present to so and so and so and so and so and so. So how would you know what the solution was? Because design is a solution, not decoration.
Right. And it's funny because you talk about, where things getting designed by committee, basically the client is the committee, or there's multiple people and they just, kind of water down the idea and the concept. But
Yeah.
then, like you said, we do it to ourselves, because you see like the Jaguar campaign or Verizon or Cracker Barrel, and designers themselves come and, like, with torches, like, blasting the creative decisions, and you don't know what went on.
Yes. And so, of course, if you are not even a senior level, it's scary for you to be like, I'm going to put my thought out there. I'm going to put my stake in the ground. This is what I think is the solution. When our own industry is like, Naoma, that's wrong. Don't do that. And I'm like, you weren't in the meeting with me. I'm sorry. Were you a ghost and I didn't see you?
Yep.
Like, get out of here. Go focus on your work. Go focus on your thing. So I think that's a big problem that we have as an industry as a whole. But I think that all goes back to you being able to make decisions that are design decisions, and back them up, and really dissect your own work to say, this is why we made this decision, this is why we made this decision, and walk through your own process. You don't have to do this live, but just,
Right.
it's a good practice for you as a designer to say, this is why I made this decision. This is why I made this decision. This was what the brief said. This is what the problem was. This is how we got there. Because that's when you kind of start to have more gravitas in the room.
Mhm.
You're saying, this is the solution, not, do you like it? Do you like this blue? We're not decorators, people.
Yeah. Or just being passively like, we did this, but, like, we can change it if you want, you know?
Yes, because we have our own, like, issues with value. What we
Right.
do is important work. We drive revenue for people. If your stuff looks bad, people are not going to pick it up and buy it. We live in a capitalistic society. We want the pretty thing, and we will pay more for the pretty thing.
Right.
But if the pretty thing also solves a problem, you're making banging money for that company.
I think it's a lack of creative leadership too, because, we're saying designers, maybe people that are freelancers or out on their own, and they don't have the skills, those soft skills, and they're just like, all right, well, I need the money and I'll just give them what they want and I'll get paid and I'll move on to the next client, and your conviction is beaten out of you in a sense that way.
Yes, or let me just get this off my desk, which I understand. And my team kind of makes fun of it because, I mean, not that we are like that, things like that don't happen here at Nuevo. They do. But when I have conviction about something, they're like, that's going to be a Naoma fight. So she's going to talk to the client. We're going to, like, because they are either breaking their brand, damaging their brand. And one thing that I like to tell clients, and this can just be something for everybody, and I tell every creative I know about this, because this is how you should be leading these conversations, is sometimes these clients are so jaded by their past experience with other designers, by Fiverr, by whatever, that they've had to dictate, I don't like that because of this, make that bigger because they think that they know design and they don't, but nobody's taught them how to give feedback. And so I always like to come in with the client. I'm like, listen, it's you and me versus the problem. It's not you versus me. I'm not here to like make a portfolio piece. I'm here to solve your problem. So I'm here to help you. We good? And I think that I can always see like the sigh from the client because you're gaining trust and you can guide those conversations and say, this is a bad choice for your brand. This is not good. This is what we should be doing. And I agree. I think it's a lack of leadership and a lack of having those convictions to talk to a client or to even navigate client conversations. This is kind of why I think these big agencies sometimes produce awful work because there's so many layers of account execs. So between the client and all the account execs, then there's the creative, and the creative is like buried behind all these people that can't talk to the client. And I'm
Right.
like, we're the ones solving the problem. Why can I not talk to the client?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was when at my last job, or 2 jobs ago, that was they always wanted to make sure that there was a creative in the room to hear, make sure that they heard and could help guide the conversation, which was what I liked about that. Like, the account managers weren't like, "No, you can't talk to." Sometimes you needed to, like, a little bit of crowbar separation from the creatives, but otherwise it was like, "No, there should be somebody, a creative should be in the room to hear the brief, to talk through it, instead of just having it relayed, because you can
Well,
miss."
but also, like, sometimes clients are like, "Hey, I really wanna do this," and the account exec is like, "Yeah, sounds great," and then the if the designer would have been in the room, they would have been like, "But why are we doing that?
Mhm.
What is the purpose of this?" Digging a little deeper, and we probably could have come up with a way better solution than a banner.
Right.
Anyway, that's my soapbox.
It's a good soapbox to be on. I think any creative leader worth their salt feels the same way, right? They're just, you see that breakdown, and it's so funny because we're in the business of communication, and that's usually the first thing that fails, I think.
Yes. And then we're the first ones to tear down our own industry. I'm like, why are we not tearing down? I mean, if we're gonna have all this like rage, let's tear down other industries.
So, do you find that as a creative leader that, like, you'll get reached out to for advice? Are people, designers, kind of soliciting or reaching out to you for work advice?
Not for work advice. I mean, I get a lot of like, hey, can you look at my portfolio?
Mm.
Hey, I really want to work for you, those kinds of things. But when I go to design conferences and then somebody finds out that I own an agency, they kind of start to ask me some of these questions of like, so what's like the business side like? And I start to explain it. And when I start to talk about the client topic, they're like, oh yeah, I don't want to talk to the clients. I just want them to pay me and
Right.
do my work. And so I like to talk to them a lot about it because I'm like, yeah, but like if you do great work and you can lead the client, you will do even better work and the relationship will be stickier. They'll end up loving you. Like they'll refer you more work. They'll see you as an expert, not a commodity. Like there's all these like things that will happen. And so when I start talking to them about that, their eyes kind of like light up because they've never thought of it in that way. And then they kind of like want to sit with me at lunch and I'm like, I'm happy to tell you how to talk to your clients and how to guide those conversations. But I think a big part of it is also as designers, some, especially the younger ones, are so sheltered by feedback and they take it
Right.
so to heart. And I
Yeah.
tell them, like, the fastest you can pry your self worth to your work, the better of a designer you will be.
You think that's what keeps people from, I guess their confidence takes a hit pretty easily, but just wanting to make themselves be visible. It's like a vicious cycle, right? Like, you don't want to have somebody put something out there and have somebody put down your work, but then you need to be visible in order to get work, right? So, like,
Yes.
what's kind of your point of view when it comes to, having showing personality and trying to get noticed?
I think that's where I tell people, like, if you can start to dissect the work and tell people why it works, that's how I've learned to extrapolate the subjective so quickly. So it's not like, oh, I don't like blue, but if I can tell you why blue works and why blue solves a problem,
Mhm.
now they're like, I get why blue is the solution, not like, I don't like blue.
Right.
Right. So I think a lot of designers need that language of how do I talk about the problem and then tie it back to like the design solution. And I think if you can start practicing that in your writing and talking and presenting your portfolio, those kinds of things, you will be well on your way to be a design leader.
I guess you're probably seeing a lot of AI and stuff when it comes to brain. I'm kind of going a little bit off topic here because that kind of made me think like people are trying to stand out, and then all they are is showing that they're kind of jumping on the next fad with AI, and then again, like things start to look the same.
I mean, that's the trend, right? That's what happens with trends. I haven't seen that with designers. I think I know way more designers that are anti AI
Oh, good.
than pro AI. I'm probably one of the few that is pro AI, and I'm gonna like add the caveat here. I'm not pro AI for generative AI. I think there's a lot of great uses to AI and how it will help us as a society when it comes to like the medical field and healthcare and trying to start to remove some of those biases and be a little bit more less guessing, those kinds of things that I don't think people will think about when they think about AI. And I only know that because I'm in this like crazy workspace and there's a lot of AI startups and they are all about how can we like facilitate nurses not being stuck in paperwork for 4 hours and missing dinner with their children? And I'm like, that's a great AI solution. I
Amazing.
want nurses to be with their family.
Yeah,
And so I think a lot of creators kind of bypass that. But going back to the question of where do we stand on the trend and putting yourself out there? I think it takes a lot of knowing yourself. And that's really hard when you're starting. But that's why I tell people like when you're starting, try everything. Like try the big agency, try the middle agency, try the small one, try branding, try motion, try all these things so that you can really know what it is that you like and what you don't like because that starts to shape you as a creative, as a person, all those things. And the more you know yourself, I think the more you can stand out in your authentic way and stand in your authenticity and take those battle hits of people, you know, bashing your work online or supporting you or whatever. I'm a big believer that if nobody hates you, nobody loves you.
that's
So
true, right? Or bad publicity is better than no publicity.
Whereas, like, I really look up to this
Yeah.
agency called Snask in Sweden, and, like, they're one of their things that I've kind of lived is make enemies, gain fans.
Okay,
That's
cool.
that's how I kind of roll more on the visibility specter.
Yeah,
I also think it's super, super important to remember that when you're putting out content and you're putting yourself out there, it's not for other creatives. It's
right.
not for other designers. You're trying to attract clients or trying to attract leadership to hire you. So why do you care what Susie Liu, who went to school with you, thinks about what you're putting out there? Because she's not going to hire you. She's not going to give you money. She's like, think about who you're trying to talk to and what will resonate with them.
Yeah, I think, in terms of putting stuff out there, whether it's your portfolio or doing something crazy like launching a podcast in your mid-40s, like, after never having done it before, like, I think we get so caught up in, you see social media and you see people have all this following, but no one's gonna see your stuff when you first started putting it out there. So if you have to have, and the things that take off are the ones where you find community because they are passionate about the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So my advice to people is to create what you love and put that out into the world, and that love will come back to you, right?
Yeah.
You're going to find, you know, the cat lovers or the dog lovers or whatever it is that you're finding community with. They're going to find you eventually, and those are the people that you want to find, and those businesses or those clients that you want to attract or will find you eventually.
Yeah, and I will say, like, nobody's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about yourself.
Right.
So I know we can get in our head of like, oh, what is so and so going to think about my LinkedIn post? Or what is so and so going to think about my podcast? And they probably didn't even hear it. They probably didn't even
Right.
see it. So I think not being so known that
Hmm.
you can kind of experiment with things. Like I can kind of be a little out there. I can kind of throw some off the wall unhinged posts that I sometimes throw out and I can have a little bit more fun and experimentation
Hmm.
in in getting to know myself. I will say I've been posting now consistently for like 2 years and what I was posting the first year versus what I post now is very different. The first year felt very like, I need to be a professional. I need to have it all figured out. And now I'm like, I was crying in my car because this and this happened. Just showing like the realness of this is what it is. And people connect with real, not with like the masks.
So, and I think that's all that stuff is very encouraging for job seekers, is to not feel like you need to be somebody you're not, and to really just go for it and put yourself out there. But there's still a lot of people are experiencing a lot of rejection and silence from recruiters. So like what, aside from kind of being supportive on the side of like put yourself out there, like what do you want them to hear right now when dealing with that kind of rejection and silence?
That's really hard for me to, like, be in that like, sit in that space with you. I can only imagine how hard that is and how my heart goes out to, like, the creatives in our field who have not been able to find their thing, have been kind of bouncing around, and, like, the our industry is shifting so fast that I think it's kind of other people are just getting caught up in it. So, I don't know if I have advice in that regard, but I do wanna say, like, just because you don't have a job or because you don't have the career that you want doesn't mean that you're not valuable.
And who you are now or what you're doing now is not maybe what you're going to be doing next year, right?
Everything is a state of flow.
Right.
So,
You, I mean, you yourself didn't start as a creative, right? You told me you didn't go to school for that initially, right? What did you go to school for?
no, my first degree is in French literature and culture, which is a very lucrative career.
Oui.
And then, much to my family's horror, I finished that degree, lived in France for a year, and I came back and I started a new degree, which was graphic design. So they're like, oh no, she's going from linguistics and something that will make no money to an art degree. And yeah, I kind of like to joke about that because I'm like, yeah, little do they know that like my art degree pays the bills.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's okay to have this state of change and being okay with change. I think that's
Mhm.
one. So for example, I have two people on my team who were designers, are not designers anymore. They
Okay.
are my project manager and my client strategy manager. But I specifically sought them out because I want everybody that works on the team to have a design lens. So just because you're not doing the career that you thought you would be doing, that skill still could be used in other elements of the industry.
I've seen people, and I'm in that very niche world of pharma, but I've seen people who were gone from being an art director to becoming a project manager to account manager, and either having roles where they were managed a lot of people and then kind of stepping back because maybe they didn't want that anymore and they changed, they changed their role, but they still have that. I work with a woman now who was an art director or an ACD. I forget where she got up to and what level creatively, but now she's project managing and
Yeah.
she loves it. But she is like really, and it's so helpful to me on my side to work with her because I feel like she can speak the language, right? She gets
She
it.
knows what you're going through.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It just makes you more effective at that role that you're in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of forget that, or they think like, well, I'm a graphic designer, so I should be junior designer, graphic designer, senior designer, art director, creative director, and like that's it.
About it. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I know that, I mean, our industry is also notorious for not treating creative right, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of burnout. And I think trying to pursue something that is still burning you out is not sustainable to your life. And so I think knowing when the pivot should happen is just good for you to know. And who cares what other people are thinking when you're the one that you're living for you?
Right. And so that kind of brings me perfectly into my next point here is that, like, as a business owner yourself who made that crazy decision, like, at what point should someone seriously consider starting their own business? Maybe even if it's like temporary between,
Yeah.
like, what's the mindset for that? I'm sure you could share.
I don't think it's totally a mindset. I think so. What I wrote here is if you ever wondered or dreamt about it, I say try it because the worst thing that you can do is to have a regret later in your life and you say like, "Ah, I never tried to do that thing." Whereas you could try it for a year or 2 years and you're like, man, this is hard. I
Mhm.
don't want to do that. I want to go back to this. I want to go like and being okay with that. But if you are thinking about running a business, it is hard. I'm sure everybody's telling you it's hard. It takes a lot of tenacity and a lot of grit. But there's two key ingredients in my book. Well, three. There's three key ingredients in my book to success, which is your network, consistency, and therapy.
I love the last one.
So, yeah. Well, running a business is, I was telling my husband this the other day, like running a business is like remember when you were playing Street Fighter and somebody would play your same character, but they were like better at the control? Like that's what running a business is. It's like you fighting your brain and your brain knows you better than you.
Right. Oh man, that's such a cool analogy.
So it's not you versus your competition. It's literally you versus your brain. And so that's
Right.
why I think therapy is so important.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like kind of dueling with yourself because you're not only having to deal with your own imposter syndrome of, am I good enough? And then, fighting with
Rejection.
everything else. Like the show primarily is about finding your creativity and keeping your creativity and kind of knowing yourself as a creative. So, as a business owner, wife, mother, entrepreneur, somebody who has a lot of things to juggle, how are you personally protecting your creativity while wearing so many hats?
My biggest creative fuel is traveling. And I'm very well aware of the privilege that I have to be able to do that. But traveling and observing are the ways that keep my creativity going and just being curious. Like, why did we do that? Or looking at a building and thinking like, why did they make that decision? What's the purpose of that decision? And being able to not just focus on what other people's Behances look like, what other people's portfolios look like, but just being out in the world and being almost like a toddler and exploring it again. So when I travel, I like to look at I have pictures of logos from around the world of like little small mom and pop shops that you'll never see on Behance. I like to take pictures of ornate door handles or interesting sidewalks, just things that just kind of give you a moment to like step outside of your computer and step outside
Mm.
of the social media world and just be in the real world and observe. That's where a lot of my thinking is creativity comes from, is just learning, being curious, observing, and just kind of pondering why things were made that way or how did we get there. I'm definitely a 10 clicks into Wikipedia's when things get really interesting for me. And I think that that's where the best ideas come from, is when you can kind of pull these two random dots and somehow make them connect. And that doesn't happen when you're just always looking at other people's
Great.
portfolio, because that's kind of what happens, is that we all start to kind of look the same because we're only looking at that.
Right. We're served all the same. The algorithm keeps us. And I've heard that travel is really it's the best way to learn certainly about the world around you and to have different perspectives, but then also kind of learn about yourself and find inspiration. You're not finding inspiration by doom scrolling. You're not finding
No.
inspiration by, posting on LinkedIn. Like you need that experience to meet others and see other things and use your brain and kind of just think deeply about the world, right? Like that's
Yeah. I will also say, I think as creatives, it's very easy for us to get an ego and think like we're the best. We won this award. We're da, da,
Mhm.
da, da. And like nothing will shut down an ego faster than you having to like charades. Where is the bathroom in Thailand? Like nobody cares that you're an award-winning designer in
No,
Thailand.
right. I'm sure Rod can attest that.
I think those kind of stories are like very much reminding you how small you are in the world and how our job as designers is, yes, to solve problems, but how can we add
Right.
humanity back into the solution?
God knows we need more of that right now, for
Mhm.
sure. So I've really enjoyed speaking with you, and I appreciate you taking a lot of your time today to chat and give your insights. But I just want to see if you can leave listeners with one final thought, maybe a mindset shift about work, about creativity, self worth. Like if you have a little nugget, little piece of advice you can give as someone who has kind of braved the world of starting your own business and being a creative leader, like what would it be?
Yes. Yeah. Something that I kind of always keep in mind is there's only two people I need to impress, and that's my younger self and my 80-year-old self. That's it. So be audacious, go after your goals. It's okay to pivot. Nobody's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. And also, if they are, you're living your own life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice because we get into our heads, our own heads so much and it stops us from doing great things. So thinking about the idea that thinking about you have your younger self, if that your younger self could see you now, I'm sure she would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
And then doing things to make sure that your older self is proud of you is it's powerful. It's powerful. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Think it's worth it. It's hard. Everything hard is worth it.
True. Very true. Well, Naoma, I appreciate your time today. I'm going to let you get back to work. I know it's a busy time, so thank you so much for taking a little bit of time of your day and dropping some knowledge on us. And we'll be sure to catch up soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. It was great to be on and chat design, business, and self-value.
Thank you so much to Naoma Serna-Zahn for being a guest on today's show. And thank you for joining me on the Flame podcast. There's definitely more to come. Please take a moment to follow, subscribe, or hit the like button if you haven't done so already. And if you have any feedback or would like to be a guest on the show, send me a message at talk@theflamepod.com. I would love to hear from you.